All right, let's get right into it. You've probably seen the headlines. North Korea launches a barrage of missiles right in the middle of some major U.S.-South Korea military drills. Now, this wasn't just another routine test. No, this was a statement, a really carefully timed event that was just packed with political signals. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what that message was.
So the big question is why this, and why right now, and why so many? The answer, as you'll see, isn't really about the military hardware itself. It's all about timing, it's about pressure, and it's about a very specific way of communicating on the world stage.
Okay, so first things first, let's look at the launch itself. Because, the details of what actually happened, well, they give us the first real clues about the intent behind all of this.
Yeah, we are not talking about 1 or 2 test rockets here. South Korean officials spotted around 10 short-range ballistic missiles. That number alone tells you this was designed to be a pretty big deal, a real show of force.
And this wasn't some secret test either. It was a very well-documented launch. The missiles took off from the Sunan area, that's near Pyongyang, which is a known spot for this stuff. They flew for about 350 kilometers and then splashed down in the waters off the peninsula's east coast. The whole thing was planned, it was structured, and it was absolutely designed to be seen.
And that really brings us to the heart of the matter. The hardware, the missiles, they're just the delivery system. The real payload here was the message it was carrying, a message aimed squarely at Washington, Seoul, and Tokyo. So let's decode it.
The most immediate piece of the puzzle is what was happening right at that very moment. Huge joint military exercises between the United States and South Korea.
And this is where you see two completely different realities clashing. For Washington and Seoul, these annual Freedom Shield drills are purely defensive. It's all about readiness and making sure everyone's coordinated. But for Pyongyang, they see it as a direct threat, a provocation, a full-on rehearsal for an invasion. And that gap in perception is everything.
North Korea basically told the world this was coming. Just days before the launch, Kim Jong-un's powerful sister, Kim Yo Jong, issued this incredibly sharp warning. When she speaks, it is not casual. She's a key political messenger, and her words are often a direct signal of what's about to happen.
So when you lay it all out, the pattern is just crystal clear. First, you get the warning from a top official. Then the Allied drills kick off. And boom, right on cue, the missile launch. This is North Korea making it absolutely unmistakably clear that it will answer these exercises with its own show of military power.
Okay, so let's dig into the military message a little deeper. Why launch 10 missiles all at once? What does that prove that a single launch doesn't?
Well, it's all about showing off what military analysts call salvo capability. The goal isn't just to prove your missile can hit a target. The idea is to show you can launch so many, so fast, that you could overwhelm a defender's tracking and interception systems. It sends a powerful message about volume and saturation, not just range.
The path of the launch, heading toward the Sea of Japan, also made the intended audience pretty obvious. The message was unmistakable. North Korea wanted its regional neighbors, and of course the United States, to be paying very, very close attention.
But just when you think this is all about military muscle flexing, here's where the story gets way more complicated. This whole display didn't happen in a vacuum. In the background, a very different kind of conversation was just getting started.
And this is a detail you just cannot ignore. Right before the launch, the South Korean Prime Minister was actually in Washington, D.C. And what were they discussing? Possible ways to reopen dialogue with North Korea. So this isn't just a simple reaction to military drills.
So you've got this wild split-screen situation playing out. On one track, you have military force, drills, shows of strength, visible deterrence. And on the other track, you have politics, quiet talks about reopening dialogue. North Korea's missile launch lands squarely in the middle of these two competing forces.
And honestly, this fits a classic North Korean playbook. A weapons demonstration like this isn't always about slamming the door on diplomacy. A lot of the time, it's about shaping the room before you even walk in. It's a tactic to build pressure and set the terms of any future conversation. It's a way of making sure that if talks ever do start, they don't start from a place of North Korean weakness.
So where does all this leave South Korea? Well, the launch puts President Yoon Suk-yeol's government in a really, really tough spot.
Just think about this balancing act. Seoul has to project strength to deter any more actions and to reassure its own people. But at the same time, it wants to keep the door open for dialogue and has to avoid getting trapped in a cycle of tit-for-tat escalation that could spiral out of control. Every move by the North forces this dilemma right back out into the open. And that leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? Is this aggressive move a sign that things are about to get much worse Or is it a classic, high-stakes opening move before a potential return to the negotiating table? Right now, you can make a pretty convincing argument for both.